Hello, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Jacob Fortum, and today I'm going to give my initial take on Rich Dad Poor Dad. I've been reading this now for the past two weeks ish, and I really wanted to just share how what I've taken out of this book and something that might be helpful to you. So this is um, quite an interesting book. I'm sure most of you guys know, or perhaps you guys have already read the book. Um, but just my initial take on it has been. I do think the book has a lot to share and a lot of probing questions of how we think of financial literacy and how we especially people like me that we grew up in households that um, education is very important, which I think it still is. What I mean, traditional education. Um, at the same time, there is this space, this very important aspect in our lives of learning financial literacy, which is what this book is trying to communicate uh, through his own personal experience, the author's personal experience. Um, and I think there's so many things to learn from there. I don't completely agree with everything the author says, but I do think uh, some of the content is invaluable, and it can actually provide a lot of meaningful and impactful um, changes in your life as you figure out your finance, which I think is a very integral part in how we live our lives. So just to give you guys um, an overview of the book so far. So it's this this guy Robert Kiyosaki, and he's raised by this academic dad who has a PhD. Is more of like this traditional dad. He's very good at his work. He has gone to school, and and he understands more of academics and or how most of us think of the essence of school. Going to school, getting the highest degree possible, and then getting a job. On the other hand, he has this friend, Mike, and his dad is this a very big entrepreneur in Hawaii, and he knows more of how to do business. He understands money. He knows how to make money, right? And he has built this business what a lot of people work for him, and that's rich dad, and his dad is considered poor dad. Not poor dad necessarily that they don't have money, but this is as he explains in the book, is more about the poor mindset of the inadequacy of financial literacy. So so far in the book, he gives certain concrete context of why how to think of being a rich person and having a mindset shift to true financial literacy that he learns throughout the book from his rich dad versus what we all think from generally we always think there are certain things we have to do, specifically going to school um, and then get a job, and then and then you ultimately get rich, or you'll be able to figure out your financial literacy. But I think the discrepancy is given there is as he was being exposed to this rich dad, which was his friend's dad, he realized that some of the things that we assume or about money, we assume about the importance of a job, we assume about buying a house, which we think is an asset, but it's actually a liability. All these things are not um, have to be brought into question, and we have to intentionally learn what money is, how to build wealth, and also how to understand certain basic norms like assets versus liabilities, how to understand taxes, and also how to understand how we can, we get caught up in this rat race of trying to make money to pay our expenses versus being assets that can, in the long term, generate uh, um, long-term wealth, right? That can, in some essence, give us that financial freedom. So, and all of this financial literacy he learned from his rich dad, which is his friend's dad, and he gives this learning lessons from a 9-year-old Robert Kiyosaki to and he grows up throughout the book, and you kind of see how he develops and utilizes some of these financial tools to actually become not just an entrepreneur, but someone who understands how money works, which I think that's kind of the key essence of the book, right? How money works and how to use that in your favor so that money works for you rather than you working for money, right? So just a key takeaways, initial takeaways, and I'll probably give a final take on this book. I think what I've learned so far about this book, and also being a graduate in a Master's of Science in Finance at Babson College, is that you really have to actually take the intentional steps to go and learn how money works. I think it's very important that we actually we don't assume that we know how money works. We have, for some reason, we learned how money works from our parents, our siblings, friends, but I think money in itself, especially in the United States, is very there's some level of awareness that some of the times we don't really go and search for it. And I think this book kind of gives some really good advice on how to start thinking about that, especially the asset class, like assets, which is like building, buying certain things that have that the value can increase over time, right? And this can be, investing in stock market or bonds, or or ETFs, mutual funds, real estate, which is something that Robert Kiyosaki did. But real estate in a very interesting way. Either you buy it at a spot where the valuation is going to go high, in the neighborhood, because it's all about location. Then you rent it out rather than you staying in there, because when you rent it out, you have this income that's coming, and subsequently you can cash out, in the next 5 or 10 years, provided that area will have a boom in terms of just household values, right? The increase in household values in that area. So buy cheap, then sell high. So all of these basic things are things that, and he kind of explains the book that's straightforward, but it's just, we just have to proactively go out there and search for it and actually learn how to start doing it early on, because of compounding, which has a significant role to play in terms of making a significant increase in profit over time. So I think the main thing is that education, and something I relate to, is like education doesn't necessarily teach you how to understand money. Sometimes we just learn it by ourselves along the way, and it's really it takes some really you have to really go out there and really kind of learn about it. And I think this book is a good start of just how to think about what money is. And sometimes it says, most of the time it says in the book, I think all the time it says in the book, that money is not real, because you have this deals are being done that there's no transaction of money, but people make money, which as a result of technology that has become a lot incremental. And one of the things that he encourages is like building a very solid mindset, rather than just thinking about what's in your bank account as what suggests you are financially competent, or financially in a good standing, right? It's all in your mind. How do you train your mind? How do you educate your mind rather than making more money, right? Because when you educate your mind, you can actually build more assets, which that's an advice he gives in the book. But I think all in all, there are very, very good tips in the book of financial literacy that he learned from his rich dad, that we can all start thinking about how to apply that in our lives today. And I think the book is worth the read. I think it's very simple to read. I'm reading the audio version, so it's a little bit faster for me to kind of go through it. But I do think this actually helps you kind of get through that financial literacy that I think sometimes schools don't focus on that, right? You kind of have to learn that by yourself. So I think I will suggest that, just check it out. I think it's something worth reading, and I'll give a final take on that at the end of the day. But I think all in all is there's certain things that I don't really personally agree with him. Like, no, we have to find many ways not to pay taxes. I do think those are debatable topics, but his ideas, I do think taxes are helpful to kind of build society. But all in all, I get his point. I know where he's coming from, and I do think that there's a lot of statements that he says, and from his perspective, it makes sense based on how he grew up. But I think fundamentally, that entrepreneurial mindset of thinking clearly and also understanding what you're doing, building the technical know-how, developing the being exposed to know certain aspects of sales, certain in financial instruments that you can start investing in and building up your assets rather than just getting a job and getting this income that is steady but can really cover you for the long term, because with the evolution of technology and all that, it's not very certain. Right. So all of these things compounded with the fact that there is this, shift in the economy of how we have to do more, tech savvy related jobs. Right. We have to start thinking about how do we start building intellectual properties that can actually lead to long-term growth for our financial being, but also how we kind of reduce that wealth gap. But very insightful tips in the book. One of the powerful things is like develop your mindset rather than just trying to make more money. Understand how money works, understand how to invest, and understand accounting. He mentions that in the book, right? And just understand the law, right? So what are the things that you can do within your means, and what are the laws that you need to follow through to make sure that you are within within the boundaries of being a very responsible citizen, at the same time and building wealth for yourself as well as for the next generations after you. So this is just my initial take. Great book, is what to read. I have some reservations in terms of just how extreme that some of them may be, some of his statements may be, but all in all, I think the book provides some very good insights of financial literacy that we don't have that a lot in some of our educations. And someone like me that I did Masters of Science in Finance, I still think it's really helpful, because I think personalized financial education is very critical, especially in our times, what is going on with COVID-19. But I do think there's some insights here that we would look into, and what just reading the book. So great book. I didn't specify the chapters, but so far I'm like 60% in. But all in all, it's just giving us an idea of how to think of developing that mindset, how to understand money, how to invest well, how to understand ourselves in a way that we know what type of investor we want to be, either a very well-trained investor that will go and take higher risk, or it can be low-risk investor that will just invest in stock markets and stuff like that. Understanding our asset classes, what is an asset really? Is housing an asset? Cars an asset? Figuring out how to create long-term revenue generating products or services that will serve us well in the long term. So all of that, I think, is really helpful, and it just has some very good tips that it gives in the book. I'll give a final take on that as well when I finish the book. But thank you so much for listening to me share my perspective of this book, my take on this book, and I would love to hear from you guys. If you can leave a comment down, or I'd love to engage with you guys and see what you guys thought about the book, if you read the book, or what I mentioned here about the book. Always if you like this video, please feel free to click the like button. You can always click the bell icon to get more videos of here on YouTube. And and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Thanks for stopping by, and have a great day.